Hey everyone, welcome back, and thank you for watching my channel. There's this interesting post from 4chan which is going viral on many social medias because a lot of people who have been to a university recently identify with this poster. It would not go viral if no one would identify with it, if it was just a piece of fiction. So let's analyze it for a little bit. The Anon is saying go to university and expect a Plato's Academy experience with the country's top intellectual minds. And this is the problem because a lot of people are still speaking in liberalism. Like they still use the old definitions instead of realizing what things have become, what things really are. Universities are not the way it used to be. Like you do not have the intellectual marketplace. You do not have just people tackling a problem from different points of view. No, like universities, if you look at any of them, they have very strict speech codes. They tell you exactly what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to say. And then they say, the first day, everyone go into circles and introduce yourself. I'm your professor and friend. And I go by she, he pronouns. Tonight's assignment will be to write a response to this material I wrote. Buy $1,000 worth of professor shit. And by the way, that was the same in Eastern Europe. Like one of the worst things at the university was that you had these professors who would write a book that no one would buy. But they would force you to buy their book if you wanted to pass their exams. Like I even had some professors that would actually force you to show that you bought their book, so you didn't pirate it, like you didn't just go to a Xerox machine and copied it. So they would give you a signature, and at the exam, they didn't ask for this, but it was known, Khaleesi, that you needed to have their book with the autograph in front of you if you wanted to get a good grade. Like I thought that this is what is in Eastern Europe, but apparently, no, like when I asked a couple of foreigners from Western academia, they said, no, this is the exact same here. Professor doesn't actually read your responses because they're lazy and lack of talent. Obviously not all, but disagree with professor's opinion, get a low participation grade. Agree with the person's opinion, get a high participation grade. Entire school puts minimum effort into everything. The cheating is rampant. And as Corona hits, go into $50,000 debt for Zoom streams. Because a lot of universities did this. You know, a lot of students at universities complain about student loan. And the reason the price, one of the reasons the price is so high is because you pay for the campus life. It's not just like the teacher that you know, but like you get the campus experience and all of that, which is why the price is high. But apparently when you get to stay home and you get to live stream the courses, it becomes the world's most expensive live streaming service. More expensive than Netflix. More expensive than Amazon. So is it really a surprise that more and more parents want kids to ditch their degrees and learn a trade? Because it's as Thomas Sowell said, if you want to be successful, learn a job that people are willing to pay for. And if you become a bricklayer or if you become a hairstylist, you will always have a job as long as buildings need to go up and people need to cut their hair. And I'm telling you this as a person with 2 university degrees. I finished law school, and I can say that I was pretty high up. I wasn't at the top, but I was pretty high up. And I couldn't find the job. Because you find out that in order to find the job, you need to have connections. It's not what you know, it's who you blow. It's about social networking. Like if you're not going to social network during the university, if you're not going to make connections and establish, doesn't matter how good you are at the job you learn. That's literally why you go to a university, in order to know the correct people, to shake the correct hands, and to learn the correct speech codes so that you can function in the bourgeoisie establishment with a bunch of fart sniffers. But I had colleagues from high school that did something that everyone was mocking at the time. They went to learn a trade school. Maybe they learned how to be a carpenter. Maybe they learned how to be an electrician. Some of them even learned to code by themselves. And as my colleagues from Law University were struggling to find a job and they couldn't find anything, the other colleagues that went to a trade school were ranking in money hand over fist. And it is the reality of the situation, because universities do not have an adequate standard anymore. Like, they are not measured based on some quality assurance type of thing. And the quality assurance would be, all right, gender studies, out of 10,000 people, 10,000 students that you had here, how many of them managed to find a job in the field that you taught within 2 or 3 years after graduating? And if the percentage is really low, is, let's say, like only 2% of students manage to find a job within a field that teaches gender studies, then the university should not be considered a quality one, a prestigious one. The way society gives prestigious out to universities and to schools has nothing to do with how many students manage to actually find a job in that field. It's got mainly to do with, like, oh yes, well, it has like this teacher that published this book, which went into the New York Times bestseller, and he's teaching at that university, so he's like, it's the best university because it hires people like that guy. That's how it actually uses credibility and creates this mythos of a good and prestigious university. The only university that I would recommend is med school, because you can't practice medicine unless you go there. But either than that, especially with this new woke ideology that's focusing a lot more on getting students to think the right things, to say the correct words, to learn the correct speech, and to behave like mindless drones, is a lot more harmful than a place that would actually help people be more creative, help people express themselves, help people be who they really are. And of course, because of that, a lot of parents are pulling their kids out. Universities are suffering because of it. I know employees that would not hire someone that actually went to this university that teaches kids to see everything as problematic. And again, you have the university professors themselves admitting in their published papers that what they do is they train students to become like a virus. The professor uses the student as a tool in order to destroy capitalism, or to destroy the system that the professor has reached the conclusion that it's corrupt. Yes, like the professor, which takes money from the taxpayer, uses that money to then indoctrinate the children into destabilizing every system, because it then trains the student to see everything as oppressive. So whether the student goes to a company, whether the student goes into a hobby, or whether the student just hangs around with a couple of friends in the bar, they now see everything as problematic, and they start criticizing and criticizing and criticizing in order to destabilize those systems, because a system cannot function if it's viciously criticized nonstop by many people at the same time. And that's pretty much what they're doing. They're teaching students to become activists. And as I mentioned before, the university professor unleashes the students, unleashes the virus, and then the students get arrested for protesting, for breaking into the Capitol Hill. They get arrested. The professor is safe and fine. Like, the professor is safe and secure, willing to indoctrinate another generation. And that's what universities are becoming. And you get parents and families being broken up because of it. You get, like, imagine spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to send your kid to a university, and then he comes home and he hates you as a parent. Like that, it's horrible, right? It's surreal, and unfortunately, it's now going down to the schools. I'll make another video where I will explain just how this culture is now affecting, like, even the elementary schools. And a lot of teachers don't want to go with it, but that is now the curriculum. It's usually coming down from the teachers' unions that are pushing this mentality down onto the schools, and now the teachers have to comply, and they have to do the same mindset to the students, to get them to think that everything is problematic, everything is oppressive, and they have to call it all out and criticize all the systems that are oppressive, which is why I made another video on my other channel where I talk about mostly culture and entertainment. People are freaking out about Walt Disney having a Snow White attraction ride, where apparently, like, the kiss is being shown, and the kiss is oppressive, it's patriarchal, it's heteronormative, and it encourages rape culture. And thank God we have teachers indoctrinating people in order to see it, because otherwise you wouldn't have seen it. You wouldn't know you're being oppressed unless someone helps you to point it out. And you now know that Walt Disney is an evil company that is creating rape culture. Blech. Anyway, thank you for watching. Again, tomorrow I will focus a little bit more on the elementary schools, because I got some really interesting dive, and we're going to go into the curriculum and how teachers encourage children to snitch. Very, very interesting material. And don't forget to tune in to my live stream, where I'll be playing some Resident Evil that takes place in Romania. So I can give you some commentary on how accurate it is. Link is in the description. Please check it out. I'll definitely manage to entertain you with that video game. And hopefully, I'll see you all there.